Hello everyone, this is Billy.
Hi everyone, this is Stephen.
And welcome to our first instructional video about how to approach an IELTS speaking test.
In this first video, we're going to be looking at things you shouldn't do during the actual speaking test.
Okay, so the first one is this one. So the first one is do not sound like a robot. Do you agree?
I completely agree. I see a lot of students who always sound as if they're giving well-rehearsed presentations instead of having a conversation.
Right. So to prepare for the great example, let's take a look at the bad example first.
So can you tell me, is your hometown a good place for young people to live in?
My hometown is Gwangju, which is located in Gyeonggi Province, about 1.5 hours away from the capital city, Seoul.
Thank you.
So for me, I've taken an IELTS test before as well. So just because I get nervous, I just tend to memorize everything and answer what I've memorized, right? But that's not a good way, right?
No, I think the thing to remember is that an IELTS speaking test is to see how well you can have a conversation on many different topics. So if you just memorize an answer, it's very hard to have a meaningful conversation.
Right.
So you need to really listen to the question. That's the important thing.
So the key point is communication between the examiner and the student.
Exactly. It's meant to be a friendly, relaxed conversation. So, for example, it's okay to take a pause. So then you don't sound so robotic.
Oh, right. But I think many of the students are very, very afraid of making pauses. They are just afraid of, getting penalties. But is it okay to, make some pauses?
Absolutely. It's the way you do it. If you leave a gap of 10 seconds silence, you will get a penalty. But if you say, let me think about that. Oh, maybe it's something like this. And you're giving yourself time to actually think of an answer. And that is how we would be in a normal conversation.
That's right. So making pauses doesn't necessarily give penalty.
Not at all. If it's obvious that you're thinking of the next thing to say.
And that makes the conversation natural.
Exactly. And so that needs to be practiced.
Okay, that's great. So could you please give me some tips about not to sound like a robot then?
Okay, well, number one, you need to look at common topics, not common answers.
Right.
Okay, so think about common topics and start to have conversations with your friends, foreign friends. If you don't have anyone around you who speaks English, then join a conversation class. But number one, become confident on speaking about many, many topics. Don't sit reading answers from a book. That's the worst thing you can do.
Right. So I think the key point is to get used to speaking English. So for preparing for great answers, is it better to prepare for just keywords or about just sentences? Which would be...
The best thing you can do is look at key topics and then build your vocabulary so you can talk about those topics, but make them as natural as possible. So if I ask you any question, you have an idea.
Okay, and all the sentences don't need to be just perfect and very academic and very
not
fancy,
at all.
right?
Because native speakers don't speak that way. So it has to be understandable, it has to be clear, and it has to answer the question.
Okay, so as long as it's clear and just answering the question, that's great.
Exactly. Yes, thank you.
So based on the explanation, let's take a look at the great example.
Let's take a look. So can you tell me, is your hometown a good place for young people to live in?
So I suppose it's a great place for young people if you like to work out because there are lots of parks and hiking trails, but there aren't many amenities like cinemas and shopping centers. So I think Seoul is much better for young people.
Okay, thank you.
So we've been talking about the first thing to avoid while having an IELTS speaking test.
Next time, we're going to be looking at the next top tip to help you approach your speaking test in the best possible way.
Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.